on the case.
What's going on, everyone? Designedcoma here, and welcome back. And the gameplay you're watching is not mine. This is Sacred Havoc. It's a friend of mine, and he was nice enough to give me some gameplay footage of him playing some domination with his HBRa3 Insanity. So, what are we going to talk about in today's video? Well, I started thinking about, while I was at work today, I'm thinking about my job. And, all the different jobs I had that led me to this point. And we've all had different probably various jobs, and those of you that are probably still teenagers and that watch this channel, and you might be in high school or whatever, and you're either considering a job, or maybe you're not considering a job, but the jobs I've had outside of what I did around the house, which I did get an allowance for, but I only got an allowance for about a whole week. I really don't know why it was only a week, but for some reason it only lasted a week. I guess there were budget cuts. I wasn't part of the the negotiations or whatever it might have been, but so my allowance got axed, I guess. So yeah. So the very first job I had when I was in high school was working at Taco Bell, and this is when Taco Bell had these, the uniforms were and I think they're still the same color, but it's just they looked awful. They're just horrible 1970s looking, uniforms. It's like they never wanted to change them for some reason. And the uniform that my manager gave me, the pants were just way too long, entirely too long. And I only worked for Taco Bell for about 2 weeks. And the only part I really liked about that place is when the manager would leave to make a money drop at the bank. And this was in the morning when we're like all, we're prepping the food and making some of the stuff. And this is when, I worked there when you had to make the meat. You had to take this 5-pound block of hamburger and put it in this giant pan and cook it up and mix the seasoning into it. And drain all the fat out of it, and then put it in those metal pans. Now it's just it's already made, and all they do is put it in the pans and heat the stuff up. So it was a lot of prep work when I worked there. And when they would leave to make the money drop, me and the other people that I worked with, we would just start hammering down nachos, and we'd make Meximelts, if anybody remembers the Meximelt and Taco Bell had. And we just start hammering food down and just cram, one after another. Hurry up, make a soft taco, and we just eat a bunch of food. So my first job was working at Taco Bell for a whole 2 weeks, and I left because I'm like, I got tired of it just smelled like crap every time you came out of that place, and I couldn't get any more hours out of them. They just wouldn't give me any more hours. I got tired of working for pennies, really, and I only got maybe, I would get maybe 8 hours a week or 10 hours a week, so it just wasn't worth it to me. So I ended up leaving, and I got a job working for this gas station. It was a full-service station, and they had mechanics there and a full-service gas pump, and I got that through the vocational center that we have at my high school. It's still there currently at my high school, and so I ended up getting a job working there, and I really liked it, but I almost lost that job because I kept calling off work, so I had to kind of straighten out a little bit, and eventually, I worked up to the point where I was, I was making like $7 an hour at the time. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but back then that was a lot of money, per hour. Plus I got 10% commission on, anything I would sell, like, oil changes, because I would do oil changes. If I sold any, little things of oil, just a quart of oil, I'd get 10% of that. Tires, I get 10% of that. That was a good gig there. If you sold $400 worth of tires, that was $40. So yeah, and then I ended up being able to go on tow truck runs. So I learned how to run the tow truck, got my license to drive it, which, you know, it's not a CDL here in the state of Michigan. It just required a chauffeur's license. So I would I got that, and I worked for them for about 3 years, you know. And when I graduated from high school, I started thinking about, you know, what am I going to do? You know, I really didn't want to go to college, you know, at the time. College wasn't in my mind. It wasn't even my thoughts, to be honest with you, other than, you know, the fact that I knew I needed to do something, because I didn't want to work at the gas station for the rest of my life. You know, I didn't want to drive a tow truck for the rest of my life either. So I really sat down, I started thinking things through, you know, and as much as I liked working there, I just really needed to find something else. But it needed to be something that was going to, you know, prepare me for the future at the same time. So I ended up joining the military. You know, I went in to join the Army. I joined the Army, and I was in the military for about a year and a half. And I signed up for a 4-year tour, so year and a half. Why only a year and a half? Well, after basic, you know, and basic was definitely rough, but, you know, the military was what got my act straightened out. It got my act together. So why only a year and a half? Well, I ended up in a motorcycle accident. I was stationed in Texas, in Fort Hood, Texas, and I got in a motorcycle accident there. It wasn't my fault or anything. It's just one of those things that happen, because you never want to speed when you're driving on post, is what, you know, the roads that are on post. So because you just don't want a ticket from the MPs. So, you know, it wasn't a speeding factor or anything like that. It was just somebody who made a bad decision and, you know, ended up in an accident. So I was in the hospital for 3 months, and I got medically discharged, and I was going to be a lifer in the military. I was going to, you know, it was 20 years and you were done. You could retire, all that good stuff. And so yeah, that was my plan, but that kind of got crushed, I suppose. You know, you could say crushed. And well, I should say 20 years, that is, if you survive any wars that you may end up in. So there is always that chance that, yes, you would end up in a war and you would die and not make 20 years. But at the same time, that was my plan. You know, that was my career path. And, you know, that got thrown out the window with this accident. So I ended up moving back with my parents, and I only moved back for a little while, and I got my own place. And then I, you know, through the unemployment office, because I did file for unemployment benefits because I could. So, you know, I went there, and they ended up calling me about, you know, applying for a position with one of the big three. And so that worked out. I got hired. I was only going to be part-time. You know, I only worked part-time Monday and Friday nights. But, I mean, I was making like $400-something for 2 nights working for one of the big three. And after about 90 days, I got full benefits, you know, full insurance. I had health coverage, vision, dental. I mean, it was awesome for a part-time job. Eventually, it transitioned into a full-time position, and I worked for them for 15 years. And then after 15 years, you know, I mean, it really wears on you. I mean, working in an auto factory, a lot of people say it's easy. They're like, oh, all you do is push a button all day. Not really. I mean, it's really, really tough. You know, there are some really easy jobs in there in some cases, but for the most part, you know, those easy jobs end up getting extra work added to them. So yeah, it's definitely hard work. You know, anything that anybody says, you know, it's definitely hard work. So yeah, I only worked for them for 15 years, took a buyout, went to school, got my bachelor's in game simulation and programming. I applied to quite a few game companies, but you know, there's a lot of competition out there, and you really got to stand out, and everybody's trying to stand out. So you got to try to have that edge on the other person, and it's not an easy thing to do. But, you know, through the process of applying to game companies, I ended up applying to other companies as well. And so the company I work for now is the one that hired me, and I'm doing IT work with them, and it's a good job. You know, I enjoy it, you know, to a point, but at the same time, you know, it's one of those love-hate relationships. My ultimate goal is games. You know, I'm looking to pull a little team together here locally, probably, and, you know, put something together and try to get something out there and do something with it, you know, because I didn't go to school for nothing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to leave a link to his channel in the description, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.